You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Hundreds of folks gather at the Magnificent Mile, in other parts of downtown Chicago last night, smashing windows, looting stores, confronting police, and at one point exchanging gunfire with officers. More than 100 folks were arrested. 13 officers were injured during the unrest, including a sergeant who was hit by a bottle. A civilian and private security guard were shot and wounded. Now, the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, she blames County Prosecutor Kim Foxx, saying she should have previously prosecuted to the highest extent of the law the people who were previously involved in looting and rioting in Chicago. Kim Foxx had this reaction.
Good afternoon. It was maybe 9 weeks ago that I drove into the city and saw the heartbreak and the anger that resulted in what we see again today, which are broken windows in this building. The news that I woke up to with widespread looting here downtown and in some of our neighborhoods, that I'm sure I, and like many people, are heartbroken, angry, confused as to how we find ourselves here. And the reality is that as we seek to figure out what is happening in what is truly an unprecedented summer, it requires us to ask tough questions, to do deep deliberation, and to put all hands on deck. All hands on deck means that rather than standing and pointing fingers, we work together.
Now, what all started in Chicago was after cops shot a man allegedly for carrying a gun. That's what set off what took place yesterday. Now, that is totally separate from the continued violence that has happened in Chicago. Over the weekend, 35 people were shot. 3 were killed by Sunday night. This has been going on all summer. You heard Kim Foxx mention that. And in fact, there's a 75% increase in the shootings in Chicago this summer, a 139% increase in murders for July 2020 compared to the same time a year ago. What is happening in the Windy City? Joining us right now is T.O. Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman, Executive Director of the Violence Interrupters. T.O., again, you see on one hand you have the mayor. She's blaming DA Kim Foxx, saying she prosecuted folks before, then this wouldn't be happening. The Chicago Tribune dropped a story showing how Kim Foxx's office has dismissed more felony cases than her predecessor, Anita Alvarez. What is actually happening in Chicago? What is going on there? How can folks around the country understand really what's taking place?
Hey, thanks first and foremost, Roland, for having me on your show. What's going on in Chicago, I'm glad you had me on because I was on the front line yesterday over in Inglewood where there was a near riot that was about to jump off. Guys like myself, Tyrone Muhammad, a brother named Joseph Williams, Ed Russell, we got a chance to calm the crowd down. The police were out there and they were going back and forth with the people. The young man got shot by the police. The facts have not been released yet in regards to the shooting yesterday, the young man in Inglewood. But most important, we stopped a potential riot on the front end in the Inglewood community yesterday, right on the front line. Secondly, in Chicago, what's going on right now, let's separate the gun violence from the looting and the rioting right now. The gun violence is at an all-time high, based on my opinion, because the violence is all over the place. You got a lot of interpersonal conflict. Gang violence makes up about 30% of the gun violence in Chicago, but a lot of interpersonal stuff going on. People they're on edge already. COVID-19, I'm not blaming COVID-19, but people are feeling desperate. People are at home all the time. People in the community don't have no outlets hardly. There's nothing really open out here, Roland, and people in the world need to know this. There's nothing for the young people to do. So idle mind brings upon a whole lot of different types of thoughts, okay? Homicides increased 139% during the month of July 2020. Now, when you talk about leadership in Chicago, I believe that we have ineffective leadership they don't have the ability, in my opinion, to really address this issue of gun violence and reduce the gun violence. On behalf of Violence Interrupters, I'm not just talking about myself, Roland. I work with a lot of people in Chicago. We have mediated 43 conflicts this year on the front end where we stopped somebody from killing another person on the front end. And I've been trying to meet with the mayor for quite some time now, but I stopped trying. My thing is now to just keep doing the work. There's a community that I work in on the west side, the near west side. We've gone 60 days without a shooting. None of the businesses were torn up over in the community that we work in. So gun violence right now, you just had the rapper Duck. He was killed, and they were expecting big-time retaliation after his killing. We've been meeting with both sides, not just me, once again. I have a team of people out there. There's a lot of organizations supporting the cause, and there has not been any retaliation as of today. Let me put it like that. So the looting that just took place in Chicago, and I notice the blame game is kicking off on a higher level now. You cannot just blame Kim Foxx. You know, it's important to have somebody in Chicago that knows the back alleys of Chicago, the concrete jungle here in Chicago. You know, I don't want to just come on and criticize the mayor. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But what I would like to say is that I met with Superintendent David Brown. He's new in Chicago. It's going to take some time for him to learn what's going on in Chicago. So right now, there's no need to point fingers, because if you want to point fingers, David Brown doesn't know Chicago. Lori Lightfoot does not know Chicago, okay? If you want to just be technical about it. So right now, we need all hands on deck once again. Kim Foxx is doing the best she can do. She may have made a few missteps like a lot of us do, but there's no time to point fingers. Let's bring it together and really organize these young people to the point where they feel a part of society instead of feeling disenfranchised or ostracized from overall society, Roland.
So, but how do you get it under control when you have, of course, when you have a situation there, young folks being killed? I saw a story last week. A young boy, his mom kept him inside. She didn't let him go outside and play. He never made it home. You have folks who say they feel helpless with what's going on there, what's happening on those streets. You don't have the same, let's just be honest, you don't have the same centralized gang control that you used to have in Chicago, where, like it or not, they were able to actually control violence there. And so you have these offshoots. You have these lone gunmen. You got folks just sort of operating in their own space. And so what is the blueprint to try to get it under control? Because Trump and others are like, send in more cops. That's the answer. Community says it's not the answer, but the community wants to be safe.
Well, you know, you cannot arrest your way out of an epidemic of gun violence, right? It's learned behavior. A lot of guys grow up in the community. This is what they know, okay? My thing is, I would like to make an appeal to anybody listening and watching out here. If, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if the mayor of Chicago appointed T.O. Hardiman like the street superintendent of police, let's hypothetically speaking, I could bring homicides down in Chicago by 70%. God has blessed me with a proven track record. I know how to communicate with my people. I'm talking to my people now. I know how to communicate with them young brothers and sisters out there in the concrete jungle a certain way. But you need somebody with, like, the alpha dog must return to Chicago in order to restore order out here, Roland. The thing is, mental health is at an all-time high. People not receiving no type of funds out here. Just imagine all the people that are unemployed right now. 45% of African-American youth are unemployed in Chicago. We have a big job ahead of us. And instead of pointing fingers, we should organize and unify. And the mayor should be able to reach out to people like me. That's not your traditional yes man, somebody that might be able to help the city out, not help her out, but help our good city out right now. So, you know, a lot of people are getting funded to, you know, work to reduce violence. I'm working. I'm not getting the funding I used to receive. And I'm not here just on here talking about funding either. People can fund me if they want to. If they don't, that's fine. But my thing is this here. There are countless agencies that can do the work, Roland, but they're not being called to the table right now. And we need everybody. Now, the overall solution for people in the world to know, my vision for the overall solution, we need about 10,000 African-American men to unify in Chicago for about 1 year straight, hit the streets, mediate all the conflicts with these young brothers on the streets of Chicago, not stand on them and talk against them and talk down to them, but we need young men. We need guerrilla brothers, intellectual brothers, spiritual brothers, and political leaders. We need to descend amongst the community and reach these. Every time I go out in the community, them brothers, they receive me, Roland. And I'm not just talking about myself, there's other brothers too, but the thing about it, we're like unsung heroes to a degree because we're not doing it for glory.
Looks like
And some
go. You froze there.
right
Go.
on ground level. People filmed it. Okay, so we stopped the riot yesterday, Brother Roland. So I just want to say we putting in work.
The thing that to your point there, you say you need 10,000. When I lived in Chicago, I remember same thing. We were dealing with violence there. We had organized an all black men gathering, took place at the House of Hope. More than 1,000 brothers turned out. But the problem is what you said is that also, look, if you're going to put them out there, look, that's a job, and the reality is, the city spends tons of money on police, tons of money on law enforcement. As you're talking, I'm sort of thinking about, of course, the guardian angels who were in New York City. I'm thinking about other places as well where you are, yes, putting folks out there who have a relationship. I remember a few years ago, a lot of people didn't realize this, where the Chicago police superintendent met with the Nation of Islam when they were creating these safe passages for kids walking to and from school. What you're dealing with there is you absolutely need all hands on deck. And so is there a present community solution right now? Is there any community role that's being played at the mayor, at the county commissioners, that the police are involved with, or are they trying to figure out on their own?
I think everybody's doing a guessing game right now. For example, Roland, every year, universities are getting $20-30 million to do research on what are the root causes of gun violence. Why keep funding research? We already know what the root causes are. The bottom line is, when I talk about organizing 10,000 men, I'm saying organize 10,000 men with intent to mediate conflicts, to reach them young brothers on a higher level. Mediate conflicts out there, not just marching. Not marching against the young brothers, bringing them to the table of peace and understanding, number one. The solution is a community solution. That's the only thing that's going to work right now. Everybody's talking about defunding the police, right? I'm not a proponent of defunding the police entirely, but I understand the mindset of defunding the police. But right now, the community solution, black men got to get up off the couch right now, Roland. We have to organize and mobilize, and then we need the family members of the shooters out there to become a part of the movement, because family members can reach their own family members, and we back up the family members. If you want to, this is going to take like a whole lot of serious work. It's not going to just be an overnight solution, but I guarantee you we can reduce gun violence by 70% in Chicago if everybody would take a look at my strategy, Roland. And I've also implemented a restorative justice component of my violence interrupter strategy, which includes peace circles and healing circles, where we can help some of these young brothers heal from some of the trauma that they've experienced over their lives, because hurt people hurt other people. And we got to be strong out here right now and grab the community, man. We have to grab the community, Roland. The business community, everybody should follow my lead if they really want to reduce the gun violence in Chicago. Now, I may come off as kind of like an angry brother, but I'm not angry. I'm an intellectual brother, okay? I'm also an adjunct professor. I teach restorative justice, criminal justice, understanding the history of gangs in Chicago. So I work on all levels, but people should really follow my lead here because I have a proven track record, but it's hard to get traction here in the city for whatever reason, Roland, with the mayor anyway.
A year ago, August 2nd, you lost Dr. Carl Bell. He was very instrumental when it came to conflict resolution, when it came to mental health. Of course, his mental health agency eventually shut down, lack of funding. While I was there, he and I talked a lot as well. You got Pastor Corey Brooks there. You've got Reverend James Meeks there, individuals who have large groups of men who belong to their churches. And so have you or anyone else has anyone, and granted, I know we're in the age of COVID, but has anyone called for a mass meeting of black men in Chicago to try to get the mayor and others to see this and accept this idea? And what I'm talking about is, I get your call for it. I'm talking about literally calling those together. And I know House of Hope fits 10,000, and we're now dealing with social distancing. But if that call is put forth and they show up, it's a little hard for Lightfoot to ignore that.
No, the thing is, yes, I work with Pastor Corey Brooks as well. He has a good team over there. As a matter of fact, they're the ones that's really stepping up with this, trying to prevent the retaliation with the guy that was killed, the rapper Dunk, and the guys on the other side. So, yes, Corey Brooks is a great asset. And he has a guy that works with him by the name of James Highsmith. He has a good relationship with all the brothers in that area. So, yes, to answer your question, Roland, we're in the process now dealing with this. This social distancing is kind of hard, but on the west side, I've organized around 5 different tribes. I call the brothers tribes, and we're organizing the first social distance type of peace summit on the west side coming up probably within the next 30 days. And then on the larger level, see, the thing when you organize summits, we're not going to call it a gang summit, it's a peace summit. Mm-hmm. You have to meet, it's mandatory that you meet with all the young brothers first, get them on board with you in advance. So it takes a little work. So we may have to we don't want to do it overnight, strategize on it for sometime in October. So therefore everybody would know, the reason why they're coming to the summit, because you remember the Million Man March, which was a great thing. They had the Million Man March twice, but when brothers got back to Chicago, the killing continued. We did not stop the killings, in other words. So we have a lot of outside forces right now, Roland, even in the black movement. You got agent provocateurs. You got personal hidden agendas taking place out here. You got people pumping illegal drugs in our community and illegal guns. So when you address this issue straightforward, the way I'm talking, then the real demons will show their face, okay? The real demons will show their faces, Brother Roland. But we're doing okay, but we can work a little harder if we all would just unify.
T.O. Hardiman, we sure appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
And thank you for the people. Appreciate you all for having me on. And my website is violenceinterrupters.org, and you can follow me on social media.
All right. Thank you so very much. My panel today is Lena McAllister, Director of Western Pennsylvania for Commonwealth Foundation, Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, Political Analyst, Michael Brown, former Vice Chair, DNC Finance Committee. I'll start with you, Lenny, and that is, it's real simple. I don't care who you are, you cannot deal with violence in communities if you do not have some form of community program or initiative. Your thoughts on what T.O. just laid out?
I mean, we both have been there, Roland, and we know that it obviously takes not just people, but money. I mean, time is money, and as much as people want to volunteer to be on the streets and do what we can for our communities, there's also something to be said about having an ongoing presence there. A lot of this stuff jumps off at night. A lot of this stuff jumps off during school time when kids are truant from school. A lot of this stuff is a long-term perspective type of endeavor. This is not going to be something where you just stop one fight and that's it. These are things that have been going on for generations. It's going to take people that know the work, that know the streets, like Tio was saying. It can't just be somebody that's going to parachute in. I know that Reverend Sharpton tried to come to Chicago and live there for several months and then leave to resolve a problem that people, including the Nation of Islam, Rainbow Push Coalition, and many, many others have been having a hard time resolving over years. This is going to take a long-term initiative. It's going to take some money, and it's going to take a higher level of commitment to get this done, where it's not just, black on black crime, take care of it. It's going to take something that the government tries to take a deeper understanding of and not just over-police it, because as we have seen, over-policing is not the answer to eradicating problems that have social ramifications, cultural ramifications, but dare I even say racial ramifications in regards to how we got here and where we're going.
Avis, look, I mean, you have to have a community component. If the community does not trust city officials and police, they're not going to turn anybody in because they're going to fear for their own safety.
That's exactly right. And I just have to echo the sentiments that were just shared. This is not, unfortunately, going to be any sort of great epiphany that people are all of a sudden going to come to and just poof, overnight, things are going to change. This will take years of investment. This will take a multi-pronged approach that's about creating strong economic foundations in communities, about creating strong programs in communities that can provide counseling, that really can support families. It's not going to be sort of like a one-shot cure. This is a multifaceted problem that needs to be attacked from multiple levels, and it is going to take years of commitment, and absolutely it will take years of investment in order to turn this thing around.
Michael.
Well, I want to echo clearly what the good doctor said, and of course what Lenny said as well. And we here in D.C., we had something called Ceasefire, Don't Smoke the Brothers as well. An organization like the previous guest was talking about. I don't know if the organizations are related at all. And what the doctor said is exactly right. We have to have all these wraparound services. However, the linchpin that we've talked about as well is until you deal with the folks that are bringing the guns into our communities. And I'll give you an example. A lot of the young brothers who have weapons do not walk into a gun show and use the gun show loophole to get their weapon. They're getting them out of the trunk of a car or a van that's coming into the neighborhood from another state or downstate. So the ATF has to be part of this. If they're going to go after young brothers with a nickel bag of weed, they need to go after the white Caucasian gun runners that are coming into our cities giving young brothers guns. That is a part of it. That has nothing to do with NRA. That has nothing to do with trying to take somebody's Second Amendment rights. What it is folks that are driving in illegally to sell guns to people. That also needs to be part of the problem.
Well, the issue there, again, what's happening there is it's a multi-faceted issue. So it's not just the issue of guns. It's not just the issue of police, but you got to deal with economics. You got to deal with education. I mean, it's all that combined. But again, I do believe that in order for them to fix what's going on, you have to have a community component. Otherwise, it will never, ever get taken care of. So we certainly hope to see what happens there in Chicago. Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.